Hello, guys. Buenos días, buenas tardes, or buenas noches. Welcome to another Spanish 101 video. The topic we are doing today is extremely important, so I ask you to please watch with full attention, and maybe if you feel the need to do so, watch again and again. Use this video um, as a source to learn the method we are going to learn today, because it's one of the main topics of Spanish 101. Okay, it is ar verbs, or in Spanish, los verbos en ar. So let's start by remembering how you conjugate the verb to be in English. We did this when we did the verbs ser and tener, right? But let's look at it again. Here it is. I am, you are, he, she, it is, we are, you guys are, they are, right? We said that conjugating a verb means changing it so that it fits the subject of the action, right? Am is the form of the verb to be that you use with I, etc., etc., right? There's a form of the verb for each subject. And we said that in Spanish, verbs tend to change a lot more than they do in English, right? So let's look at the equivalent of to be in Spanish. Let's look again at the verb ser. It's right here. Yo soy, tú eres, él, ella es, nosotros somos, ustedes son, ellos son. I hope you remember that when we studied this, I asked you to memorize it. I hope also that you actually did, right? Well, the reason why I ask you to memorize it is that ser is what is known as an irregular verb. What do I mean by irregular? Well, irregular verbs do not follow any type of pattern, right? They just change whimsically, right? Almost indiscriminately. So that is why we need to memorize them. There's no way to memorize, there's no way to learn a method to know how the verb changes, right? So you just, you learn it by heart. Yo soy, tú eres, él es, nosotros somos, ustedes son, ellos son, right? Luckily, not all verbs are like that in Spanish. So today we're going to learn the first of three groups that do follow a pattern. And verbs that follow a pattern are known as regular verbs as opposed to the irregular ones, right? So first we're going to learn how this classification is made, right? I said three big groups of regular verbs. Well, remember that the infinitive of a verb is the form that talks about the action in general without anybody doing it. We said that in English you construct the infinitive by putting to before the verb, right? To say, right? To say. Who's saying anything? No one. I'm just referring to the action of saying in general. To say, to work, to play, to read, to sleep, to dance, right? Those are infinitives in English. In Spanish, infinitives always end in ar, or ir. And regular verbs, verbs that follow a pattern, are classified according to the ending of their infinitive. Okay, so we are learning ar verbs today. That means we are learning how to conjugate regular verbs whose infinitives end in ar. Some examples: cantar, tocar, llamar, bailar, right? Those mean respectively to sing, to touch, to call, to dance, right? So this is a very useful group, in fact, because there are tons and tons of regular adverbs in the Spanish language. It's the biggest of the three um, groups of regular verbs, okay? So, how do we conjugate these? How do we find the form that we need to use for each subject? So, there is a three-step process. We start with the infinitive. So, here we have cantar. the infinitive of a regular adverb, right? First step is getting rid of the last two letters of the infinitive. Getting rid of that ending that is actually the identifier of the group, right? So we get rid of the A and the R, right? In the case of cantar, we are left with cant, right? That which we are left with after we get rid of the infinitive ending is what is known as the stem of the verb, okay? So in the case of cantar, the stem is cant. This is an important concept for many reasons, so please remember that. The stem of the verb is what we are left with after we get rid of the last two letters of the infinitive, right? So first step, we get rid of those two letters, right? We are left with the stem, and then we add what we know as the ar endings. The ar endings are o, as, a, amos, an. What do I mean by adding them? Well, let's look at the actual conjugation of cantar, shall we? It's right here. Yo canto, tú cantas, él, ella canta, nosotros cantamos, ustedes cantan, ellos cantan. If you look at the column on the right carefully, the column with the actual verbal forms, you will see that what I did was take the stem and write the stem throughout, right? It stays the same in all six forms. And then I added the endings in their order, right? So o is the ar ending for yo. What do I mean by that? I just add o to cant. I get canto, and that is the form of cantar for yo, which means canto means I sing, right? And then I do the same with all the other forms, following the order of the endings, right? So as is the ending for tú cantas means you sing. A is the ending for él and ella, so él canta is he sings, ella canta is she sings, and so on and so forth. Nosotros cantamos is we sing, ustedes cantan is you guys sing, ellos cantan is they sing. Okay? This is how you conjugate regular adverbs. First, you get rid of the last two letters of the infinitive. That gives you the stem, and then you add the endings to the stem. What that means is that these are a lot easier than the irregular verbs, right? You don't have to learn one form for each subject like we did with ser or tener. What you do need to learn is the method and the endings. But it is a powerful method because whenever you're given a regular adverb, you just follow the method and immediately you find the forms, right? Without needing anything else. Okay, let's look at two more regular adverbs, okay? We have bailar, which means to dance. This is the table of conjugation of bailar. Look at it. I just did the same thing that I did with cantar, right? Get rid of the last two letters, right? So I get rid of the A and the R. I am left with bail. That is the stem. I leave the stem intact and then I add the endings in their order. Yo bailo, I dance. Tú bailas, you dance. Él baila, he dances. Ella baila, she dances. Nosotros bailamos, we dance. Ustedes bailan. You guys dance. Ellos bailan, they dance. Right? Quite simple. Yet another one, right? Mirar. That means to look. Exactly the same method. I get rid of the A and the R. I am left with mir, which is the stem of mirar, and then I add the endings. Yo miro, tú miras, él, ella mira, nosotros miramos, ustedes miran, ellos miran. Okay? This is how you conjugate regular adverbs. Again, very important topic, so feel free to watch this video as many times as you want and to practice with regular adverbs. Gracias, muchachos. Hasta luego.